deferred. Next order shall be deferred to the next appointed time.
Order number 13, motion, consideration of reports of the East African Legislative Assembly at the fourth meeting of the second session of the Fifth Assembly.
Honorable Wanjiko Muhia, on behalf of the Committee on Regional Integration.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I start to represent my very able chair and give apology. She has not absconded duty. She's on a very special assignment and she's always in the House. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopt the report of the Select Committee on Regional Integration on its consideration of report of the EAC, East African Legislative Assembly, and fourth meeting of the second session of the Fifth Assembly laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 24th September. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Article 65 of the Treaty for the Establishment of East African Community and Standing Order number 212 of the National Assembly, the report, resolutions, and bills adopted by IALA were transmitted and laid on the table of the House on 1st August 2024 and committed to the Committee on Regional Integration for examination and reporting. The committee considered the IALA reports as follows. 1, the report on the assessment of implementation of the EAC budget for financial year 2024-2025. 2, the report on supplementary budget request and the EAC supplementary appropriation bill 2024. 3, the report on EAC budget estimate financial year 2024-2025. 4, report on projects implemented by the Lake Victoria Basin Commission and the Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization. 5, the report on the oversight of national election in the Republic of Rwanda and Republic of Uganda. 6, the report of 5th East African Parliamentary Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition. 7, the East African Community Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2024 and EAC Appropriation Bill 2024. And finally, a resolution of the Assembly paying tribute to the late Honorable Dr. Shogo Richard Mulozi, who was a member of IALA. Honorable Speaker, the East African Legislative Assembly, IALA, established at Article 9 of the EAC Treaty, exercises legislative oversight and representative functions, including 49 of the treaty. At its fourth meeting of the second session of the Fifth Assembly, that is 23rd June to 4th July 2024 in Arusha, IALA adopted and forwarded the National Assembly the aforementioned report. Honorable Speaker, the committee, having considered the report, made the following observation. 1, only 77% of partner states' contribution were received for financial year 2023 and 2024, with the Democratic Republic of Congo making no remittance, thereby stalling critical EAC programs. The supplementary budget of USD 11.1 million exceeded the 5% ceiling set under the Budget Act, raising accountability concerns. The financial year 2024-2025 budget of USD 2.9 million, prioritizing peace and security, trade, monetary union, infrastructure, and social sector, low cases of duplication and weak alignment of integration goals were noted. Kenya continues to play a key role in hosting the Lake Victoria Basin Commission headquarters in Kisumu, and the Victoria Fisheries Organization projects are critical to climate resilience, food security, and livelihood in the region. On electoral oversight, the committee emphasized the need to strengthen EAC election observer mission and ensure inclusivity of youth, women, and persons with disability in electoral process. The Food Security and Nutrition Alliance highlighted the importance of family farming, climate-smart agriculture, and increased funding to food system. Honorable Speaker, the committee therefore resolved and recommended as following. One, the partner states' contribution should be based on the GDP rather than equal shares. Two, the treaty should be amended to provide for sanctions against defaulting partner states. Three, prospective new members of EAC should remit their financial contribution upfront as a precondition for admission. Oversight on budget execution should be enhanced with clear guidelines for programs, alignment to integration priorities. Greater political and financial support should be extended to LVBC and LVFO projects. Finally, the mandate and funding of EAC election observer mission should be strengthened. So, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank the Speaker and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly most sincerely for invaluable support accorded to the committee in discharging its mandate. Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the Committee of Regional Integration and pursuant to Standing Order 199-6, it's my pleasant duty to move this motion that the House adopt the report of the committee on its consideration of business transacted by the East African Legislative Assembly at the 4th meeting of the 2nd session of 5th Assembly, 23rd June to 4th July in Arusha, Tanzania. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and with your guidance, if I can say two things, but I beg to move.
You still have the floor. You still have the floor.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. Honorable Speaker, I'll be brief because many members have indicated they want to speak on this motion. And I see even members who serve in this committee. And for interest of time, I will want to speak on this issue of partner state contribution that the committee consider it to be based on GDP rather than equal shares. Honorable Speaker, EAC mirrors the EU. And why the EU is a very strong bloc, possibly in the whole world, is because the EU practices the GDP. So you will find a country like Germany is giving more or contributing more, while another weaker country is giving what it can only afford. Here in EAC, a country with a very low GDP, which I may not want to mention because of the partner state and family issue, is supposed to contribute $8 million. A country like Kenya, with its well-known GDP, also contribute $8 million. So time and again, Kenya will contribute, Uganda will contribute, Tanzania will contribute, but a few other countries will never contribute, not because they do not want, but because they do not have that capacity. Honorable Speaker, when we look at EAC, we have a population of approximated 340 million people. What is the population of America? Approximated 347. America is boasting as the first world country. Population and economy goes together. So the partner states who do not remit, yet they are able, because we may be knowing them, do not see the gold they sit at EAC. Because with this kind of population, we can trade, economically we can grow, in terms of peace and security we can maintain, and we can very closely go to try and attempt to beat countries which have this similar population. Honorable Speaker, looking at the whole Africa, we have a population of estimated 1.55 billion people in Africa. Yet, I may say, like Trump said, does the UN live the purpose? I would say, does the African Union live the purpose of Africa as a continent? Africa has a population of 1.4 billion, less with almost, mathematically we may see almost 15 billion. So what does this mean? With China having 1.4 billion, with Africa having 1.55 billion, who has more population? Who can trade more? Who can grow more? With Africa having all the minerals, with Africa having extremely, very, very good climatical condition. We do not experience winter. We do not experience summer. We are favored by God to be there. With Africa having great labor personnel, Africa is exporting the labor to Gulf and other Asian countries, even including the Western countries. So having this population, if African summit members could find it fit, they would strengthen the EAC, they strengthen the IGAD, they strengthen the ECOWAS. Then together we strengthen ourselves at African Union, and Africa can beat even America. I dare say that to Trump. Honorable Speaker, there are members who have joined the community recently. I may mention them on the floor for record. We have the Republic of DRC, though knowing that they have been struggling in terms of security, but it joined the community. We have the Republic of Somalia. Honorable Speaker, the committee, and this is my personal recommendation, do recommend that we put a clause where we ask members to contribute upfront to test their seriousness. Because in Tanzania, we used to say, East African community, in Kiswahili, Honorable Speaker, ni shamba la bibi. Honorable Jamatia know it very well. Why do we say this? A partner state will join the community. They have the members of the staff. They go with the pocket well paid, yet they are paid by three partner states. We have now 8 partner states. How can 3 partner states carry a whole community? When a partner state is joining, it must know that there are payments, and this is an obligation which can grow the community. So it is a very sad story because the committee looked at the budget issues. And of course, I will ask, is the milk white? Is the grass green? Because even if we are saying that this budget is ABCD, but what budget? We never fund our budget. With 3 countries, and the budget is maybe $60 million, while we have funded the budget from the other stakeholders of goodwill, but we never raise the money to support our budget as EAC. So in conclusion, Honorable Speaker, also a critical thing is missing in EAC. There is no PFM Act, and that is why the budget and financial management cannot experience good practice. When these members from Kenya joined IALA 4, myself, Honorable Jematia, Honorable Kadir, and the Gen Z, Honorable Oburu Odinga, this was our first question. We all served in budget committee, and we kept on asking this question: how can a community miss the PFM Act? Honorable Speaker, the sad story is none of us as members would have initiated that bill, because the practice in EAC, all the bills emanate from the council. The parliament there in IALA is semi-autonomous. A member will not wake up and do a PFM Act and the bill be realized so that the community can move forward. This is one of the sad stories, and if the members in IALA could be allowed to make these bills, instead of waiting for council forever, something like PFM Act would have been realized and good practice of money could have been achieved. There is also issues of political and financial support should be extended to LVBC, LV4. These are the institutions for the community which have been doing very well in terms of climate change, particularly in Kisumu, taking care of the lake, making sure there is good fish, and these institutions also lack financial support because the remittance are not in place. Honorable Speaker, the election observer mission, considering the purpose of EAC is also to maintain peace in the whole continent, the observer mission is underfunded. So when you are going for this observer mission, it never really realizes the purpose. Worst even, after the observer mission, the report is just given to the Council of Ministers and the partner state where the observer mission was. And worst even, it is recommended as note. So there is no vibrant debate to make recommendation, they be actualized, and this is one of the setbacks which beats the logic why even the observer missions is in place. Honorable Speaker, because I know members want to contribute, I wouldn't leave without saying that if partner states will not contribute, they should just allow the amendment of the treaty. We contribute with the GDP so that you contribute this much, but also you have veto powers. And if you continue with this merry-go-round of whoever contribute the money, then I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, this community will not grow and it will not meet its target of strengthening the whole continent of Africa. Finally, Honorable Speaker, we have members and officers from all partner states. They all go with salaries at home. For instance, the members of IALA. For instance, the members may not be sitting in IALA because there is no budget, there is no money. Why would members from Kenya suffer? Why would members from Kenya not sit? I think we should be bold and candid enough and maybe make an amendment in the same treaty by strengthening the sanctions schedule so that if your country does not contribute, then your members are not paid. Otherwise, this family business will not make the community achieve its goal. Honorable Speaker, I wish to add there, but I also want to urge the leadership of this House to be like the Deputy Honorable Speakers, that is Honorable Busholei, Honorable yourself, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Majority Whip, that is Honorable Naomi Wako, Honorable Miri Odhiambo, who has been very decent, honestly. Because, Honorable Speaker, you can see it is past 6, and I'm here, yet some leadership purport that some of us do not come to the House. It's not good to play to the gallery. I urge them to be like the deputy speakers, the deputy majority whip, the deputy ladies of this House, who, in my view, they should even be then the main members. After all, I always see them until this late, yet the ones accusing some of us are technically in the House. Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I ask Honorable Naomi Wako, our colleague in this committee, to second this good report. Thank you.
Very well. Member for Marsabit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to second this as requested by the mover. I want to congratulate Honorable Wamuya for moving this report very ably. She's a member of that committee, and we have a very able chair who is also a very committed member, chairperson, and has a lot of passion for this committee to progress well. Honorable Speaker, the mover has covered every area because of her experience. And during her time as our chair, she shared a lot of her experience with us and challenged us in many ways. And we have also tried to see how the committee can be of help to ESC. Honorable Speaker, I have gone through the report which I have participated in. And once again, I want to congratulate our committee because we gave this a lot of attention and also had a retreat in Mombasa, whereby we had a representation from the ministry. The PS was there, and they gave us a better understanding because many of us have known IALA and the struggles they go through. But during that retreat, we were able to understand the situation even in a better way. And the committee recommendation is what I will focus on as I second. Number one, the mover has already touched on that, but number one, the committee recommended to address the persistent financial challenges facing the community. The committee underscored the urgent need for joint roundtable meeting between IALA's Budget Committee and Integration Committee for all partner states. This, Madam Speaker, is very important because unless we try to solve this problem, the challenges that IALA or East African community is going through will not be solved. And we need to get to the root and see how best we can solve this problem, because if only 3 partner states does their contribution 100%, and the rest are not doing that. And I understand sometimes even the IALA members of parliament are not paid on time. They don't get their allowances. They don't do the visits they need to do simply because they don't have the money. And the question is, for how long will this continue? I remember in the 12th Parliament, this was discussed in many forums, and that problem has not been solved. Well, we are proud as Kenyans because from the report, we were told that Kenya is performing very well and submitting, on time and sustaining even the others. But for how long will that happen? So for us to solve that problem, we must sit together as the committee has recommended. Number two, the committee further proposed a shift from the current eco-contribution model to GDP-based formula. Because the other one is not helping us. And so if we can base it on GDP, we might be able to encourage those who are financially struggling. Number three, to enhance financial discipline and accountability, the committee should amend the EAC treaty. And finally, the committee emphasizes that the EAC success as vehicle for regional cohesion and integration hinges on unwavering political support from partner states. My time is up, but I second this and pray that EALA or EAC will be out of the current challenges they are in. They are really struggling to see the struggles, but see how best we can solve.
Very well. Honorable members, allow me to propose a question that this House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Regional Integration on its consideration of reports of the East African Legislative Assembly at the 4th meeting of the 2nd session of the 5th Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 24th September 2025. We'll start with the member for Seme.
This side.
The mic is roving. It's back to you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. As I rise to support the report, I also feel a bit sad because from where I sit, we are not progressing, we are going backwards. If you look at the report, it's actually half of it is about the budget. Implementation of the budget, supplementary budget, the report on the budget estimate for the financial year, and then you have only two things which are not budget: projects implemented by Lake Victoria Basin Commission and report on the Oversight and National Elections Board in Rwanda and Uganda, and something about the Lake Basin Commission. And then you go on to say that as much as we are talking about that money, only 77% of the contribution is received, and that some members don't receive, don't contribute at all. Now, if you look at that, and going back to what the mover had said about the desire that this should actually lead in the unity of East Africa and Africa as a whole. You know, in 1958, Kwame Nkrumah, the moment they got independent, actually called all the newly independent African states, I think in Ghana, in Accra, and they said, can we get together? The resolution was that let all of us get independent, then we'll sit down to unite. His proposal was that as you get independent, let us unite and come in and join an existing institution. Obviously, they all got independent, they all went their way, to the pleasure of actually our colonizers. In 1962, when we were just about to get independent, I think it was President Nyerere who actually suggested that they can delay their independence so that the three East African states then become independent together. Well, it didn't happen, and now we are where we are. So what we are seeing, and when I grew up, I didn't know the distinction within the three East African states. Maybe I've said this before, but look at what was one. East African Airways was one. East African Railways and Harbors was one. East African Road Services, even buses were one. East African Power and Lighting was one. East African Telecommunications was one. The Airways was one. The university was one, the University of East Africa. And I know many of us don't know why this place up here is called the community. It was the headquarters for East African Community Common Services. And that's why it's called community. I went there for an interview to be trained as a pilot those days. Well, my father didn't want that. I wanted to do that. My father thought better. Of course, the training school was in Tororo. And you could be posted anywhere and work anywhere. You didn't need anything. How many years later, 50 years later, we are now thinking of a monetary union. We had a single currency, the East African shilling. So really, we are moving backwards. And me, as I support this, all I can say, if those who are in the assemblies there, whether they come from East Africa, whether they come from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and now DRC, and the others that are coming in, I think when we go to that IALA, I think we should not think as members of individual countries trying to get advantage for our individual states. We should go there as people trying to get one union of East Africa. If we think like that, I think even these issues of contributions will actually work out better. You see, we have a weak center, but we are bringing in others. The East African, the original three, are not strong enough, but now we are bringing others, and I think that will just weaken. You cannot expand when the center is weak. So, Madam Speaker, I would have said more, but I am going more on history. But we should look at, although the headquarters is in Arusha, probably the real regional headquarters for East Africa is actually Kisumu. So basing these institutions in Kisumu is actually a good start. But we should just really see this as one unit. And those who have been there, members who are there, try to see what can be done.
KJ.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you. I want to thank the Honorable Wanjiku Mohia, her herself a very consummate East African who has served in Yala, and I also see in the House the Honorable Jamatia Sergon, herself also a former member of Yala. Madam Speaker, the reports that have been laid here are rafts of reports, and allow me on my behalf and on behalf of the people of Dagoretti South to also send my condolence messages to the member of Parliament who lost his life, and say pole to that family and to the East African community. There are many issues that have been raised by these reports, most of them having to do with budgets. But Madam Speaker, where the honorable member for Seme leaves it is where we should start, asking ourselves about the foundations. Madam Speaker, the borders that we pride ourselves with today are indeed artificial borders, borders that keep us apart as a continent, a people who are one, but separated by powers that are external from away of Africa, out of Africa. Madam Speaker, the history of this continent is a sad one. For 500 years, the most prominent enterprise globally was the extraction and the pilferage of resources and the slavery of our people. 500 years. It is only that it happened that slavery became extremely unpopular, that he who was perpetuating slavery decided to transition it into a form of leadership they called colonialism. This colonialism perpetuated the extractive economy for another 100 years. Madam Speaker, the bigger question we ought to ask ourselves, if slavery was that bad, if colonialism was that bad, what is it that can be said about this format of leadership that we called democracy? This democracy that identifies our countries only as individual states, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda. Madam Speaker, if you look at these people, they are one people. And that which keeps us apart is not born of our people. So the problems that we see, even as presented by this report, brings to mind that quote by Martin Luther King. He who tells us that
Balance of 2 minutes. And this motion has a balance of 2 hours when it is put on the order paper. Order, members.
I thank you.
Honorable members, and the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 14th October 2025 at 2:30 p.m.
What a motion, Wajiko, what a motion. Wow. Madam Harris? Thank you, Sajid. Happy Utamaduni Day, happy Mazingira Day. Ninapanda miti.